And I wish I could say that that was the end of it, and again, you probably heard this how many times, because then I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to touch LSD anymore.
Mm-hmm.
God made weed and it's natural, so I can smoke it. People underestimate the power of weed. They're dumb. They think, oh, yeah, but it's not hallucinogenic. It's not addictive. You're dumb, because I've smoked everything there's to smoke. And you can go ahead and believe that. In fact, thank God now there's a lot of studies that are showing that there's a direct relation to a lot of, like, an increase now that it's been made more freely available. You can go to the store. I used to have to go to some seedy stuff to get some weed. In many cases, it wasn't even really weed. Now you could just go to the store like a 7-Eleven and get it. People underestimate it. And what they're finding now, as there's an increase in usage, that there's psychosis and all sorts of things that are being triggered by this stuff, man. So I tell people, then go ahead and keep smoking it then. Be dumb and then learn the hard way if you want to be stupid. And that
For,
sounds mean, but just real.
well, for some of us, we do have to learn the hard way. So it is real. So after this experience, you're like, okay, I'm not going to touch like meth and LSD, but I can still smoke weed. This is sort of where you went next.
So natural. But then I smoked some weed, and oh my gosh, I heard, man, it wasn't even that much weed. And again, I smoked some weed, and immediately, boom, everything shifted. And I thought I could feel it. I'm here again. And
Uh,
now you're really going to burn, because you had your chance and now you just used up your last chance. So now you're going to burn. And I was, for, I think, 2.5 weeks, maybe more, I literally thought I was dead and in hell, because see, this is the devil's lie. And this is important for me to point this out, because this will explain kind of how I've been able to fight these panic attacks and things associated with this. Because see, what the devil did in this next trip, the lie that the devil spun, which is weird. He was saying, Rudy, that night you actually died. You did die. And you've conjured up this reality around you, this fake reality that everything's good and that you're saved. But really, dream on, because you owe me. My life became, I don't know. I used to be a fan of horror movies, which was another stupid thing. There's a movie called Jacob's Ladder.
okay,
Don't watch it. But have you seen that movie
I
with
haven't.
Tim Roth?
I'm a scaredy cat now. Like I used to watch
Oh,
scary movies too. And now I can't even watch like the commercial for it.
yeah, I don't either. But there's this movie where, and I ended up there's a book about it, and it's a transcript and how they went into a lot of satanic, new agey stuff with chakras and all these things. A lot of stuff goes into the making of this movie. So it's spiritual in nature, but essentially this guy, keeps seeing demons, increasingly seeing demons, thinking he's going crazy, only in the end to find out that all that he had been experiencing was his life flashing before his eyes. And then at the end of the movie, it's a flat line, beep, up, and there's a light that he walks to, but the light was really that on a table in Vietnam where he actually really died, and it was life flashing before his eyes. Just horrific. Well, that was my life, because the devil made me think that I was dead, that happened, that however many months it was prior, that really you died that night, Rude. You're on borrowed time. This is just all your imagination.
So he was
And
telling you this while you were in this next psychosis after
yep.
smoking weed? Okay.
And so it took me, just time, I guess, to again wait. So this is real, and grounding myself. So to make a long story short, there was a certain point where I realized that I really needed to pursue Jesus if I really wanted to be set free, and if I wanted to be a good dad to my kids. The sad thing is, I had a daughter,
Yeah.
and I'm like, still smoking weed and all that stuff, and being dumb.
Were you married at that point?
No, not yet. I had gotten so I had a child when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So, and almost I grew up with her.
Wow.
Unfortunately, she experienced a lot of my growing pains and stupid choices. But it's also been a blessing, because she's seen that I'm a different man now and what Christ has done in my life.
Wow. Yeah.
But so it, there was a point where I really came to a decision. And you know how it is. We, with our best effort, I want to serve you, Lord. And you have your stops and starts, and you do well, you're on fire, and then
Yep. The ebbs and flows. Yep.
yeah. And so that was real. I mean, I was 21, I don't know, 19, 20, something like that, 21. But I finally came to a point of, I'm not doing this nonsense anymore. And that was great. But while I might have stopped those behaviors and the addictions, and closed off those points of entry for the enemy, he still had a grip on my mind because, and this is where I'll share t- well, maybe two brief examples, because I don't want to get lost too much in this, but I need to share this because when people read about derealization, it's a sense of detachment from reality. It's a sense that, oh, things don't feel real. Okay, well, I know that's real for some folks, and that's a scary thing. But add to that crazy, trippy stuff that only serves to confirm that you're dreaming because it's things that shouldn't happen are happening. For
Yeah.
example, I was sitting in a room. My daughter at this point was 5 years old, so however that makes me. And my friend Mike is there, and his girlfriend, and there is Christina, and we're just talking. But they look to me like those two guys did on that night.
Mm.
I was looking at them like, hmm,
Maybe you recognize the spirits.
like something isn't right now. And
Yeah.
I kept pressing into like, what's going on right here? And I was looking, it was something in their eyes. I could not, I couldn't discern their intent. It looked like, you're trying to do something to me? It felt more like they're trying to do something to me. And then as I pressed into that, all of a sudden, boom, reality falls. And that fear comes in like a flood. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start to stand up and I said, that, fight or flight thing. And I said, Christina, what's going on? And she said, I don't know. Their faces are changing. Okay, now it was interesting how she phrased that because that's what a 5-year-old would say. She wouldn't say, I don't know, Father. It looked like their intent for you was uncertain, whether good or bad. I couldn't quite discern it, Daddy. No, it wasn't like, oh no, their faces are changing. What the heck? So I get up and I get out of that room. And then my brother Ricky was there with his girlfriend. And I'm tripping. I go, Rick, what's going on right now? And he goes, oh, Rudy, me and Jennifer, we're going to go rent. We're leaving. We'll be back. We're going to go rent Shawshank Redemption. Okay. Shawshank Redemption. The redemption. I go
Mm.
to this word redemption. Oh, yeah. I'm redeemed. Well, yeah, in your podcast.
Yes.
Uh, I'm redeemed. Ricky, he said that in taking a video back to Blockbuster back in the day. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
reality came back up, and there I was. But I asked Mike, I go, Mike, why'd she say that? He goes, I don't know. Oh, but in my mind, I go, no, bro, you do know.
Yes.
You
It's
heard
like
that.
you brought up the girl who encountered God in hell at the concert. Like all these little words that were being said around her. She's like, looking back, it seems like it was nothing, but they were all connecting to something that like my spirit knew God was trying to say to me. So exactly like what you're saying right there. Were you sober on this day when you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great question. Totally sober.
totally
Totally
sober, and your
sober.
5-year-old saw the same thing, who obviously is a sober 5-year-old, because so many people will say that, like, "Oh, easy for you to say you were on drugs," or, you know, different things like this. I get that all the time, and it's like, "No, on this day you were sober, and this little baby girl saw the same exact thing." That's a huge part of my testimony, was seeing the demon with the shape-shifting
Yeah.
face. And that was
Yeah.
the scariest thing I'd ever seen, and that's the one that finally led me to seeking Jesus, and really I was seeking whoever can protect me and save me and fight with me, and that ended up being Jesus. Um, so is this sort of what rocked your world and made you go all
Yeah.
in, or had you were already moving towards
Yeah. I think
all?
at this point I was growing in my desire to understand Jesus and my place in the faith and that. Again, it was still not where I probably should have been, but I'll tell you, it was growth from where I was.
Yeah,
And I think hearing Christina say that just it shook me. Even now, I I've decided whatever happened, I can't explain it. I don't know why because I feel like it was from the devil because God, it does not deal in confusion. Where there's confusion, that's not God.
yeah,
God clearly will say, "Nah, this is wrong. This is the way. This is the truth." There's too much. I don't know. Too much uncertainty as to what that was even about for
Rudy,
me
there's
to
a
try to
verse
explain.
too. There's a Bible
Yeah.
verse, I just wanted to throw it in real quick
Please.
because this helped give me clarity, was it says, I can't cite it, but it's God is the same and he does not change like the shifting shadows. And when I
Mm.
read that, I was like, "Oh my gosh," I
Ooh.
connected it to seeing those
Mm.
shifting faces. So yeah, I did
Wow. That's good. I like that. Thanks,
I
Michaela. I'll
connected
check that out because, um, I think sometimes we have to be careful. Again, I have a testimony, and now I can share it openly without I used to not be able to talk about it because it would just trip me out, and I would fall into another trip.
yeah.
Now I can, but I think sometimes we can stay stuck back there trying, "Well, why but why did that happen? What did that mean?" Well, I don't know. It happened because I was dumb, and I opened up myself to a lot of stupid stuff, and there was some residual
Mm,
reports the enemy had a foothold that I had to renew my mind. See, we're transformed by the renewing of our mind. It took me to truly get my heart and mind aligned with the truth of God.